Guys, hi there, how are all of you? I hope you all are fine. Well, my name is Yousaf and I'm back on Yousaf Reacts. Well guys, today I'm back again with a very interesting movie review that is there for you guys. The movie review that I have for you guys as far as today is concerned is something that is really interesting because of the fact this movie has a lot to do as far as alien invasions are concerned. This movie has a lot to do as far as time traveling is concerned, and that is the reason why this movie obviously is something that is going to be a science fiction, but at the same time a movie that is going to have a lot of things that are there. This movie is a movie that came out back a long time ago, and if I talk about this particular film, there were a lot of things that this movie had to offer. Today the movie that we are going to talk about is going to be known as Edge of Tomorrow, and the star cast of the movie really sums it up. This movie is going to be featuring not only Tom Cruise, but it would also have Emily Blunt as a prominent character that are going to be there. Now we come across what? Alien invasion, a very common phenomena that is there, which has always been a cause of, I would say, intriguingness, which has always been a cause of curiosity oriented stuff that have been there as far as humans are concerned. And same is the thing over here which we guys tend to see. The thing that we guys tend to see over here is this, that Tom Cruise is portrayed as a particular individual who is not a combat war kind of an individual who tends to prefer to go for it. He's someone who tries to be at the side, and he's someone who tends to be a convincing individual, but eventually he comes across the circumstances where he eventually is forced to enter into a war as a particular soldier, which he does not want to be a combat warrior, and he does not want to do that. He's not a combat soldier, he's not trained for that. But the thing that is there is what, that it's the need of the time and the arrogant nature of the military individuals that tend to push him to that particular thing forcefully. Now the thing which tends to happen is what? Emilia Blunt is someone who has been portrayed as a particular hero, and she's someone who has really exceptional kind of skills that are there, really good tactical warrior skills, and war skills, in other words, if I say this thing up, really well disciplined, knows all the key in elements of fighting and stuff like that. So now the thing which tends to happen is this, that this alien invasion, and she being a lady who has defeated them up and defeated the plan of that particular alien at one particular position. So now the thing that tends to happen is what? The thing that tends to happen is this thing up, that now Tom eventually, when he lands up there, he's forcefully inducted into that particular thing. When he's forcefully inducted into that particular thing, the thing which tends to happen is this, that he's coming across his particular new platoon that's there. He becomes a part of it, and he eventually is forcefully entered into war, and Tom eventually gets killed. He wakes up, and when he wakes up back from where his dream starts. Now the thing which tends to happen is this, that Tom eventually relives all the particular moments again. He does things different, but he again gets killed and again wakes up back. Now this is what the whole thing is. The thing that tends to happen is this, that because of the fact that Tom is that particular individual who has the same insight, and that was obviously there with Emily Blunt at the particular moment, he eventually someone, whenever he would die, he would eventually come back at that same particular position from where the day starts. And that is what Tom relives, all those particular moments again. So Tom eventually, this makes it up to even more interesting and more intriguing, that whenever he goes to the war, he gets killed. He wants to save different people, he saves them out, but eventually they also get killed and he also gets killed. Now the thing that is there is this, eventually after a particular time of combat, again and again, living history again, he begins to realize he needs to approach Emily Blunt on this. And he does that. He approaches Emily on this particular thing to figure out what the whole thing is. Emily eventually takes him to a particular scientist who eventually had the same kind of a theory, that the particular individual whose brain gets connected with the particular prism zone, and because the threat is there for the alpha of that particular alien invasion stuff, so they eventually reboot the whole particular thing so that the alpha does not get killed. And this is what the whole thing is. Now Tom eventually tends to decide with Emily. Emily eventually trains him up again and again, because he goes to the war, he dies. He saves Emily, again he dies, and then this is how the thing eventually tends to move on. Now the thing that is there is which makes this movie even more interesting is this thing of that how alien invasion is being portrayed at one particular time, what kind of devastation eventually is taking place at that particular time, and how the things are eventually moving on at that particular time. A huge cause of fascination now is this thing up that Tom has to relive all the particular moments again and again, but every time he tries to do something different. Now the thing with time which eventually tends to realize is this thing up that now Tom has become a very well kind of a combat warrior, because of the fact he has died hundreds of times now, and he again woke up at the same particular position now that is there. Now the thing that is there is this: he knows that he needs Emily to be there, and both of them are the ones who eventually have to go on. But the most intriguing part that tends to happen is what? The most intriguing part that tends to happen is this thing up. Tom now has to use his brain, he has to think, he has to see his foresight, and he needs to figure out where is that particular main prism that is present, where all the particular power or the source of this alien operation is being operated. He finally tends to figure it out that it is present in France, and eventually how they approach it up, how they move it up, and that's the most important thing. The second thing which makes it even more interesting is this, that he cannot save Emily at all, because Emily is destined to die. Now this is something that really makes it even more interesting if I talk about it. Why is it even more interesting? Because of one particular reason. The interestingness that tends to come with it is this thing up, that Emily is destined to die. With this thing, it means this thing up that some things are written down. Humans cannot change it. And that is what Tom eventually tends to realize with time, that every time he tries to save her, but he cannot save her. And this is how the whole thing tends to move on. But the thing that is really making it so interesting is this: how a non-warrior particular kind of an individual who was not trained for combat wars eventually gets trained by reliving the dream. It's not a dream, but he reliving that same day again and again and again, and how the changes eventually tend to move on. He eventually is the one who eventually gets rid of that particular alien, and that is what this whole thing moves around. All in all, if I talk about this particular movie, a totally different way or a totally different approach towards how alien invasion is being portrayed, and how eventually the curiosity of humans being at one particular side, but on the other way around, how this thing can be so catastrophic for humans that eventually it would not only eradicate their whole race, but at the same time it can be really costly for them. And this is how this movie eventually tends to move on, because the way those aliens kill humans, it clearly shows the devastation, advancement of technology, and all the particular things that are there. So this movie has a lot to offer if I had to talk about it. All in all, again, if I say about this particular movie, Tom, well, he's a gem of a guy. If I talk about Tom in itself, he really knows how to act, and he really knows how to make the character look so realistic that eventually people tend to believe on the happening that is going on. And this is what this movie had to offer. All in all, if I talk about the movie, it really was a spectacular watch, really thrilling, enjoying, and eventually at the end of it, obviously Tom gets rid of it. And the thing that makes it even more interesting is this, that the chemistry that both of them had was also really good, because of the fact she had to portray herself as a particular individual who was not too submissive and stuff like that. But on the other way around, if we have a look at Tom being a particular individual who was not so confident in the start, eventually with time, by reliving the day again and again, getting himself trained, now is quite well, and he knows how to deal with certain situations that are there. So guys, this is me, Yousaf, saying goodbye to you people. But before I go, I again want to say this thing up. You guys have to subscribe to the channel, because your support is something that is really important. I want you guys to press the like button, put the comments down there, because the comments are also literally very important. So this is me, Yousaf, saying goodbye to you people. I hope you guys really enjoyed the movie review that I had for you guys for today. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Take care. Bye.